shadows are devoured by even darker shadows, the curtain pulls back and reveals a world without light!
What's going on? TR Bailey here. We're going to continue that segment we talked about, the top 10 most broken. So, top 10 most broken extra deck cards of all time. So, I'm right here with Yu-Gi-Oh! Overdrive, as you know,
hey guys.
This is our segment, and we're going to go ahead and run down the most broken extra deck cards of all time.
This one was a lot easier than doing the non-extra deck monsters. We only had a very select few to choose from. We could pick out the top 10, but it was really the order of which we had to choose that made it a little more difficult.
Exactly. We had a few honorable mentions, but we already knew because we'll explain a little bit why they were just honorable mentions. However, let's just get right into it and let's see what we can pull out here. So, you started off Yu-Gi-Oh! Overdrive.
All right. So number 10 is going to Black Rose Dragon, who through a few formats has seen up and down play from 1 to 3 to decks that just utilize this card to its full potential. Plants making 2 or 3 Black Rose Dragons a game. Other decks like Dragons making 1 or 2 Black Roses a game and pushing for game with it.
So Black Rose Dragon has had a very rich history. It's one of the best synchro monsters to ever come out in the game. As you know, we've seen it at limited to 1, and you know what? I wouldn't be super surprised if it went back and saw that spot. Would you, Brandon?
I wouldn't, but I'd be very sad.
What a whiner. Number 9. It's a card that hasn't seen much competitive play, mostly because it hasn't been released in Europe. So we only have it in the United States and the
Really?
TCG.
It hasn't?
No, it has not. It is a Shonen Jump card. That's why it needs its reprint in the 10. Japan had it for a little while, and Fishborg Blaster happened, and so that card is banned. So they preemptively made it to where this card can't be summoned very easily, and that card is
Shooting Quasar Dragon. Auto game if you get it out with an open board.
Also, right now, like with Lobbles, they can't make that card because negation plus Big Eye is game. So a lot of times they can't make that card anyways. Last format when Lobbles finally got their stuff, I played against a couple of them online when I was testing my Dragon list for the World Championship qualifier for North America, and I challenged Quasar and Big Eyed it, and that's insta quit. So as long as Big Eye's a card, I don't think Shooting Quasar can be a card. I know it can negate it, but still.
I have a video up about how to pro play out of a first turn Shooting Quasar Dragon with Dragons. It's very, very lengthy, but I had to do it. It was fun.
So let's go on to number 8. This card is a card that we sat there and looked at each other and really thought about, really genuinely, seriously. Because we're like, it's broken, but is it that broken? And the answer we came up with is, it definitely is a top 10. And that card is Mecha Phantom Beast Dragosack. It's a new card, but the problem with the card is that it's similar to Scrap Dragon and Diamond Direwolf, which we agreed are not broken cards.
Not at all.
But they're very skill-based and good cards. But the thing that pushed this one over the top for us was the fact that it created tokens, and level 3 tokens at that. And they can be tributed. As you know, most of the cards in the game that make tokens cannot be tributed for tribute summons.
And bad players automatically lost if they did a Foolish Fiendish Chain when they tried to generate tokens.
Exactly.
The fact that it tributed as a cost made this card a lot more broken. Just generating tokens was good, and not being able to be destroyed was good. But the fact that it could tribute itself, even if it was under stuff like Effect Veiler and Fiendish Chain, made it that much better.
Well, not Effect Veiler, but Fiendish Chain.
Stuff like Scrap Dragon and Diamond Direwolf couldn't say that same thing. It was, a cost to target but not to tribute.
And with that being said, it's really hard to, and it can't be defeated by battle, which is not something that Scrap Dragon can say, or Diamond Direwolf. So with that being said, Dracosack was definitely a top 10 card. We put it at number 8 because it is a card that probably at some point should be limited to 1, just because we shouldn't have to deal with 2 of them a game. But it is a card that will always see play because it's not overly broken, but it definitely was a top 10. And our number 7 is Thousand Eye Restrict. So this card was really just because of the time period it was in. Because right now, Thousand Eyes Restrict, even though it's banned, is really not that broken now in the current metagame. But back in the day with Tsukiyomi and Metamorphosis, you could just infinitely never get rid of board advantage unless your opponent had a Confiscation.
Plus triple Scapegoat.
Or Delinquent Duo. Plus it had triple Scapegoat, and when we really thought about it, we put a lot of thought into Thousand Eyes Restrict, and we decided that it will be the only fusion card that makes this list, and it definitely deserved to make the list at number 7.
And number 6, we have the Almighty Shockmaster, who just happens to see its end this last format, unfortunately.
So Shockmaster did a lot of work during the wind-up format when Shockmaster was an auto game card. Even last format, it was an auto game card in certain situations, and I think Konami really wanted to get rid of those kind of cards. Shockmaster, as I'm a wind-up player, which you guys all know very well, Shockmaster is a card that just initiated automatic game for players that play cards like Gores or Swift Scarecrow or Battle Fader, things along those lines. And I think Konami wanted to get rid of that. They wanted player interaction, and that card, this is exactly what you don't get with Shockmaster, which is the problem with him. However, Shockmaster was also a skill-based card. Haha, right? But seriously, it was actually a skill-based card, because if you called the wrong thing, you automatically lost the game. Any player that called traps would automatically lose, because that's just stupid.
And against decks like in the last meta, Dragons and Spellbooks being the dominant decks, if you made first turn Shockmaster against either one of them and they didn't have the Veiler to stop it, they were just going to lose. Declare monster effects against Dragons, declare spells against Spellbooks. They weren't going to be able to play out of that. Judgment and Elf, all those good cards. You see 3 turns with your Shockmaster, and you're just going to be able to beat them down before they have a chance to play around it.
When cards like Spellbook of Judgment Day isn't enough to beat a card like Shockmaster, it needs to hit the ban list. So let's go to number 5, and that would be one of the most broken synchro monsters to ever be printed, and that would be
Goyo Guardian.
Goyo Guardian. The problem with him was his monstrosity of attack points. It was 2,800, and during its time, Stardust Dragon was the most made card during its time. So when someone would summon a Stardust Dragon when playing Teledad, the other person could simply use less cards to make a Goyo Guardian and swing over and take the Stardust Dragon. The reason why this is huge is because now you have your opponent's Stardust Dragon, and you have a Goyo Guardian. What's the real logical outs here? Lightning Vortex was the only legal card at that time, as big as Dark Hole was not legal during that time period. Also, a lot of times people just win simply with it because Mirror Force was at 1, and a lot of people could afford cards like Dimensional Prison, and Mirror Force was also $70. So with that being said, there wasn't really a lot of outs to him besides Compulsory Evacuation Device.
Another reason that I believe Goyo Guardian might have gotten hit is that it was very soon after Synchros got released that Goyo Guardian was a card, and Konami really was trying to push their Synchros, and their staple Synchro was Stardust Dragon, and Konami, I don't believe, really liked the fact that their poster child of Synchros was Stardust was just getting absolutely destroyed by this level 6 Goyo Guardian.
It being 2,800 is what really, to me, was its undoing. If it was 24 or 25, I could even see it being legal now, but it would still be broken. But anyway, enough of Goyo Guardian. Let's go to its bigger, better brother, who's limited. No,
he's limited in the OCG.
But in the TCG, he's at 3. He won't play 3, but it's number 11 Big Eye.
Some people are greedy and play 2, but that's about the extent of it.
It's number 11 Big Eye. Big Eye is a card that should not be legal, ever. I hate that card with a passion. It gives players, let's say Goyo Guardian, multiply it by 100, and that's what Big Eye is.
He's too good. He makes it so that you can push for game at any point, and players know that the only way they're going to get beaten is Big Eye, so they don't want to make the big pushes like they usually would. I had to play Dragons at the YCS, and the entire time I played the Mirror, I was just worrying about playing around a Big Eye because I didn't always have the Veilers, I didn't always have the Master Blades, I didn't always have ways to stop Big Eye, so my plays were extremely limited just knowing that my opponent could make Big Eye at any point in the game.
And Big Eye is a huge relief off the shoulders of a lot of players if it would just go
away
to 0. The card's just stupid. There's no way around it. Let's go to number 3, Dark Strike Fighter. Dark Strike Fighter was a format
in itself.
Let's look at Black Wings, for example. They had 3 Gales, and you would just infinitely make Dark Strike Fighter and automatically win the game. You play cards like Swallow's Nest to continue to make Dark Strike Fighter broken.
If it was a once per turn effect, Dark Strike would not be nearly as broken as he was, but the fact that you could do it over and over and over again made him so broken.
And there's a lot of one card Dark Strike Fighters. Salvo was actually a real deck at one point. So
is he a level 7?
Salvo is a level 4 that got level 3. Yeah. Dark Strike Fighter is a level 7. So yeah, Dark Strike Fighter, definitely one of the most broken synchros ever, and the first ever to be banned. Number 2 is a card that
will never come back.
It can't, and that would be
Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier.
Brionac just created too many broken plays. If you don't remember playing during the Infinity format with the Infinite Trishula loop, Brionac was the real problem with that, because you could infinitely do it over and over again, because you had to add cards to your hand, and guess what? You can't summon stuff with Infinities if you have cards in your hand. So Brionac was like, oh, okay, no worries.
And can you guys imagine if Brio came back right now, how busted Water would be? Alright, so I'm going to Brio back that card and pop the other one with my Marksman or my Heavy Infantry, or I'm going to send that card back to your hand and get a search off my Dragoons, and then summon a Megalo and blow up 2 more cards. So all the advantage in the world just for making 1 synchro.
Also in Dragons would be really broken, as you could debris into it, and you can discard Dragons.
Nope, he's a Sea Serpent. He's not a dragon.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a Sea Serpent.
Sorry guys, I lied. Still broken.
There's still ways to do it, but yeah, Dragons would utilize this card to its potential. Water would utilize it to its full potential, and now that Infinities are trying to make a comeback, it would see so much play in just about every single deck that it could.
Very true. And number 1, I know you guys already knew what it was before you watched this video. At least I would hope so.
Broken.
Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier.
Infinite Trishula.
Why is this card at 1 in the OCG? I bet they're all asking that question over there right now. Because I don't know why. I can't tell you.
Dragon Plants is absolutely destroying the OCG, and it's what else? The OCG didn't ban Gateway, did they?
No, they didn't.
Infinite Trishula times 2.
And let's just put this in perspective. Not only is it already automatically broken, but it doesn't target when it comes into play. So if you bottomless it, you lose 3 other cards.
Someone has to resolve, just like Stratos.
Yeah, it gets rid of the cards on resolution. I don't know why. I don't know.
If it got an errata to target, it might see play.
No, if it got a target to errata, if it got errata to target, I still say it should stay banned.
Probably. I don't doubt it.
Yeah, but I mean, beware TCG. They did it in the OCG. It could come back.
We had a buddy who had a binder full of Trishulas, and when that was announced in the OCG and everyone thought that the OCG list was going to be the TCG, he made so much money selling those Trishulas for $30. You can't even imagine.
I can not imagine it either. I can't imagine Trishula being back, and I hope it never does, because I hate that card. There's not very many cards that I just straight up say I hate, but I hate Trishula.
I love Trishula. That card's
I also
awesome.
hate Spellbook of Fate.
That card's really bad.
Whatever.
That's why it's banned, right?
Spellbook of Fate isn't banned.
Oh, Spellbook of Fate. I'm thinking of Judgment. That card's bad too.
Yeah. Okay, and then our honorable mentions were Wind-Up Carrier Zen Mighty. Couldn't put a Wind-Up card as the 10 most broken cards ever, could I? Because I want it to come back to 1.
Yeah.
No. The problem with Zen Mighty was you had to have 3 of them and a Hunter to make it extremely broken, but it was still really very, very, very good.
The OTK format with 1 Zen Mighty wasn't that bad. It was
It's a combo that most players would lose to a trap card, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or a Fiendish Chain.
Another honorable mention went to Evil Zarlagia, who also by itself defined a number of formats.
Yeah, like 2 of them. And then here's one that once it came out, you know, I mean, it was a 3 for a long time. It's still limited to 1. We don't know why, but history says why. That's Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. The card was just the nuts back then, because you not only did you have Shien, but you also had cards like Magatama to support the deck, and Gateway of the 6 was at 3 and then at 1. But I mean, Legendary 6 Samurai Shien was one of the most insane synchro monsters for its time. It was really easy to make and really hard to beat.
First turn Shien Beast Barkyan was the most broken setup that you could possibly do, or even triple Shien, which was not a stretch.
Yeah, triple Shien was a turn 1 play for some decks, and for that deck, and there was really few ways of beating it. Even Fossil Dyna lost to the Magatama.
Yep.
So I mean, Penguin Soldier was the best way to beat that deck, and you know, with that being said, Legendary 6 Samurai Shien definitely deserved an honorary mention. But like we said, we feel like the 10 that we had there were pretty great. But if you have other ones that you want to mention, you know,
leave it in the comments down below.
And if we like it enough, maybe we'll have you interview with our next video.
Alright guys, thank you for watching, and look for us on our next segment of Top 10 Most Broken. Yu-Gi-Oh! Overdrive, Brandon Collins, and Mr. Timothy Bailey signing out.